my name is Dr. Hume Johnson. Today I talk with Miss Rhode Island USA 2016, Theresa Agonia. She is representing the state in the Miss USA 2016 pageant coming up later this summer. She is the Deputy Chief of Staff for the Mayor of Providence and previously worked in media relations for the Mayor of Central Falls. You may not know, but she was a student of mine in public relations at Roger Williams University. I talked to her about her foray into politics and political communication and her background and most importantly, her journey to the Miss USA pageant. Stay with us.
These are all former mayors. They're all former mayors. Throughout the building. And then former mayors also listed within the top scribes. Every mayor's name is there.
Very, very nice to see you.
Thank you for having
So
me.
you left college only 3 years ago.
Yeah, a little less than 3 years ago.
And you managed to work with 2 city mayors. How did you manage to accomplish such great positions in such a short space of time?
Well, I attribute a lot of that to starting early. And you know, once I was in high school, I really started giving back to my community, getting energized, getting people around advocacy. And I continued that work through internships at Roger Williams University, working at the Public Affairs Department, working for a PR firm, and a couple of other opportunities. And so, although it's been a short time span since I graduated, I really consider that I worked a couple of years prior to that to get me to where I am today.
What would you say that working in the mayor's office, 2 mayor's office, has taught you about communication?
Really about the importance of staying on message and knowing what your end goal is. You know, everything that we do has to come back to something, and it all needs to be articulated in our vision. And whether you are our art, culture, and tourism department or whether you are our finance department, we all have to be speaking the same language and making sure that we all have the same end goal. And that's the same in any municipality that you work in, but really any office that you work in. And so we make sure that we remember that every single day through every project that we embark on.
We normally tell students that don't be afraid of government. You're working in communication, you're not working in government per se. What have you learned about politics though, having worked for 2 city mayors? You've not only worked in communication or learned about communication, you've also learned about politics. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so when I was graduating Roger Williams University, it's funny, and I tell this story often, because my friends would ask me, what niche of communications do you see yourself in? And I often said, I'm not really sure I'll do anything except for politics. I don't want to do public affairs. And I think it's so funny now because I'm entrenched in the political sphere, but I always knew that I wanted to work in public service. And I always knew that I wanted to be part of something that was bigger than myself. And I could really do that in politics. And that's what I find so fascinating, is that I come to work and every day that we're making decisions, I'm part of history. And so while I feared government at first, I always knew that I had a passion for advocacy and working hard in public service. And so it's important to remember that government can be that, and it's not this scary monster that people think that it could be.
Absolutely. You do have strong policy perspectives though on minority issues. And you've spoken a lot about education, and you're quite the advocate for summer learning. Tell us about that aspect of it.
So a lot of it stems from the fact that I was raised in a struggling urban community in Central Falls, which is where I also work. And being raised in a bilingual, bicultural home, raised by immigrant parents, I really learned the importance of advocating for yourself. And going to an urban community's high school, I felt that I was at a disadvantage in some ways, but also at an advantage because of the diversity that I saw and the different cultures I was learning about. And it was when I went to Roger Williams University and became the first member of my family to graduate from college that I realized education was my key to success. It got me the opportunities that I have today, and I attribute it to my success because I know that that's where it all stems from. And so many of the decisions that we make needs to be around reforming education, providing students opportunities, and especially in urban communities where we see a summer loss happening when our students aren't reading, they aren't in summer enrichment.
You call it a summer loss?
Yes.
Is that a regular concept, or this is Theresa's concept?
Yes, the summer learning loss, research has found is very real because when you have 2 months during the summer that students aren't learning and you multiply that by 12, that's where we see the achievement gap from students that are raised in suburban communities versus students that are raised in urban communities. And so we know that this loss happens, so we know that we have to program and we have to advocate for students to be involved and continue reading and continue being part of programs. And it's not just a time to be away from school. Your learning needs to be year-round. It's not just, when you're in a classroom. Because realistically, students are only in classrooms 20% of their waking hours. So we need to make sure that we program throughout the year so that kids can continue to learn, because again, it comes down to education being your key to success.
You mentioned that your upbringing in a Portuguese home had a lot to do with your advocacy for minority issues. Tell us a little bit about your heritage.
My culture is so important to me. My parents, being from Portugal, I think they prioritize with coming to America and being American, but also staying true to their roots and being Portuguese. So we grew up, celebrating an American tradition, but also with a Portuguese flair. So we grew up speaking Portuguese. I went to Portuguese school for 9 years, where I graduated from a program, went twice a week after my English school, and we also did Portuguese dance. And so Portuguese traditional folk dance is about celebrating the history, and it's important for the younger kids to carry on that tradition. So I'm very proud to do that, because my mom started back in Portugal, and to have been able to use her first outfit when I was 8 years old, and to still be a part of it 16 years later. It makes my family proud in Portugal, and it makes me feel proud here in the United States as well.
Okay, you were born and bred in Central Falls. What do you imagine for Central Falls, and by extension for Providence, in the next 50 years?
That's a great question. 50 years from now, I really want the conversation to be around reform. And I want it to be around, this is where they were and look at how far they've come. I want people to talk about how the demographics have changed, but the municipalities have changed with them. I want us to reflect the communities that we serve. I want us to be engaged in the community and what the community wants, but more importantly, we're here to serve the people of our city. And so I want us 50 years from now to be responsive to people and make sure that we're always adapting to whatever policies they want us to implement.
You have been a great role model to young women in Rhode Island, and you talk a lot about empowering women.
Yes.
How do you envision empowering women? What does empowering women look like?
I don't think there is one broad stroke that we can paint over empowering women, although I will say that more people need to adopt this philosophy. Women still only make 77 cents to every dollar that a man makes, and that number actually drops significantly when you're a minority woman. And there are real gender opportunity gaps right now. Women are not in the pathway to achieving seniority positions within the workforce. We are not represented within the political sphere. And so we need more advocates for us, and we need to be part of the change that we want to see, because it's only when young women see other women in these powerful positions that they'll know that they can attain that success as well. So it's kind of a holistic approach to making sure that we are at the table, and we are part of the change that we want to see, and we're demanding that respect that we deserve.
What made you want to empower women? Who are those women that you saw in your own lives that were inspiring for you as a woman?
I think I'm really fortunate that I was always surrounded by really powerful women, and that of course started at home with a very strong-willed mother and a strong sister who has always been my role model. But beyond my home, I had strong women teachers in high school that I still look to as life mentors, and a role model that I haven't yet met that I plan to is Viola Davis, who is from Central Falls.
Viola?
Yes. I'm waiting. She's from Central Falls.
Yes, absolutely.
And she's made it to Hollywood, and she doesn't let the fact that she came from an urban community, a struggling community, define the success that she can achieve. And it was when she achieved the SAG award and had an acceptance speech that said, "For students in Central Falls, I want you to dream big and dream fierce." It was then that I remembered that I could be part of the change I want to see. I could achieve success. It didn't matter where I came from. It was seeing her on that stage that reminded me that I could get to any stage. I could get to the Miss USA stage if I wanted to. So I attribute a lot of my success to her as well.
You know what? I'm glad you mentioned beauty pageant because some people are of the view that beauty pageants are a bad idea.
Mhm.
They objectify women
Mhm.
and they skew the notions of beauty. What is your response to that?
I grew up watching the Miss USA and Miss Universe system, and what I saw were these set of empowering women who were professional. They were advocates of change. They were members of their community, and they gave back. And that's what I paint as a beauty pageant. It's a group of powerful women who want to be part of tomorrow's success. And that's why I got involved. And I think any platform that empowers women to be confident in who they are and what they look like, you know, showcasing their body, being the modern day woman, that's always something that I'll advocate for.
What do you think beautiful is? What is beauty for you?
I would define beauty as really loving who you are, but I attribute it back to the women that I see as most beautiful. And some of the women that I think are most beautiful are ones with passion, ones with drive, and ones with a purpose. Because I think when you have a purpose in life, what you do, no matter what that is, it's beautiful. And so that's what I would attribute as beautiful.
And finally, you're very passionate about the subjects that is dear to your heart. I know pancreatic cancer is
Yes.
one of those subjects. What made you become interested in pancreatic cancer as a cause?
When I was 14, unfortunately, my dad was diagnosed with cancer. And it was a really difficult time in my life because I was the epitome of daddy's little girl. You know, I shadowed him everywhere he went because he was this figure, this superhero for me. And so when we lost him when I was 16 to bile duct cancer, it was when I noticed that I had to advocate for something bigger than myself. And bile duct cancer is very similar to pancreatic cancer with similar symptoms and unfortunately lack of treatment. And just this year, pancreatic cancer became the third leading cause of cancer deaths and only has an 8% survival rate beyond 5 years. So as Miss USA, I would love to raise awareness, but also advocate for more national funding and more cures for not just pancreatic cancer, but for cancer in general, because it's a powerful 6-letter word that unfortunately can ruin a life.
I hear a number of platforms here, healthcare, I hear education, and I hear gender equality. Will we see Theresa Agonia making a run for politics in the future?
Right now I'm focused on winning Miss USA and walking the Miss USA stage.
Thank you so much, Theresa. I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much
Miss
for
USA
having me, Dr. Johnson.
pageant.
Thank you.
And that was Theresa Agonia, Miss Rhode Island USA. We wish her all the best in the Miss USA pageant. Thank you so much for watching. I am Hume Johnson.
Okay, perfect. Because I'm sending him some other stuff on volunteer stuff and T-shirts and other components of the Arts Festival. So I just wanted to make sure that he knows that we're talking to one another. Okay, no worries. All right, thank you. All right, bye.